Hey guys, this is Charles from the channel Books on Stereo. I'm here to bring you a really cool and special interview. I have the Riley Hart, who has decided to come on my channel. If you haven't heard of Riley Hart or you just haven't even read MM, how do you even know? What are you doing? If you love romance, if you love MM, you have to read Riley Hart. So thank you so much, Riley, for coming on my channel. How
Thank
are you
you.
doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
Just,
so then
been busy.
I know you publish so frequently. I was like, how do you do it? It's so I turn around I'm like, how does Riley already have two new
No,
releases?
no, I am a fast writer, which is good, obviously for me. And I also don't really have hobbies. So it's like if I have nothing to do, I write, besides reading, obviously that's my hobby. But outside of that,
Mhm.
if I get any time for me, that's usually what I'm doing. So
Oh, that's cool. So then the first question I have for you, or not really, this is technically the second question that I'm going to be asking you, is how did you kind of get into writing romance? Were you always a romance reader, or you just kind of one day you're just like, I just want to tell stories that I want to
um
read?
No, actually, well, I've always loved writing, I won a writing contest and I think it was like the third grade and the theme was Tomorrow's Leaders on the Move. And I think from then and it's funny that I still remember that theme, from then, I kind of always had the writing bug and I wanted to write, kids books at first. And then, life happens and I got married and I had kids and all of that. Well, I had only had one kid at the time.
Mhm.
And then we moved. We lived in Oregon, and I lived in a small town that I'd been in since middle school, and I knew everybody. And I was a full time. I worked full time to Southern California. So then I went from small town to Southern California, where I knew no one, and I was a stay at home mom for the first time. So
Okay.
my husband was working like 60, 70 hours a week, and I had a baby at home, and that's when I started reading, and I picked up a romance by accident. I mean, I just grabbed something, and I don't know how it happened because I had never read one
Oh.
before, and I just sort of fell in love, and I didn't stop reading from there, and then I said, hey, I kind of like it rekindled, I guess, my old love of writing. And
Mhm.
so I started and just started out slow. I did some short stories for some small press e-publishers and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And went the agent route at first. I queried
Okay.
a bajillion agents and got a ton of rejections. And then got my first agent. I know. And then I was like, yay, I made it. And then my books didn't sell and I lost my agent. And I was like, oh, I didn't make it.
Oh
And then I got
no.
my second agent and I was like, yay, I made it. And the same thing happened. And then I published in 2012, I self-published my first, it was a YA, actually, romance. And then it kind
Oh,
of, yeah, I have a whole nother name that I have stuff under. Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Naire Dawn. I don't know if you've read any of those, but I have
No.
some YA, MM and MF, and then I have
Mhm.
like a new adult series from there. So then that's when I got my third agent, and I had self-published Charade, and then I got my agent, and then we did some traditional published books from there as Naire. And I've always loved MM romance, and I just
Mhm.
really felt like that's where my heart was, so I gave it a try
Mhm.
and there you go. Haven't
Oh
looked back
wow,
since.
that's amazing. Cause I just love your MM romances so much. I think you were one of the first authors that I found, and I was like, hold up, and all her stuff is on audio. I was like, thank you. I was like, you guys do. Everyone who watches me knows I'm an audiobook listener first.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's unless people tell me a book is really good, I'm like, okay, I will physically read it with my eyes, but I'm like, low key, I still want the audiobook.
No, you know what? I never ever listened to audio at first. I just didn't get it.
Oh,
And it's been probably the past year and a half that I have totally fallen in love with audiobooks and I listen to them a lot now.
okay. Okay, that's good because I think for some of the, I think for the Finding Finley, the second
Mhm.
book and the Desires Unbound, it's
Unleashed.
Finding Ian and
Mhm.
Finding Finley. I was like, Riley,
Oh,
when's the
Finley's
audiobook
first.
dropping?
Yeah.
I was
No.
like, I'm waiting for the audio. Don't make me read a 400-page book, Riley. I need the audio.
No, yeah, I do. we're all busy, pandemic or not, and sometimes audiobooks, make it a little easier, and sometimes I just love them. So I've been really working on trying to make sure everything comes out in audio. I'm trying to get the audios as close to the ebook release as I can in the future, which is why I'm ahead right now, like writing ahead so that I can make that happen. So you guys don't have to wait.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing. I would say like my favorite. Sorry,
That's okay.
sorry, that's my dog. I would say probably one of my favorite series from you is like the Camp Havenwood series.
Hmm.
Right, Camp Havenwood. Like I
It's Haven,
absolutely
yeah.
love these series, these books. Like they're so good. Like I was shocked. Like I read the first book, and I was like, I'm like really addicted to this world. And like if you guys haven't read the series, I love how the fourth book and the first book and the fourth book kind of mirror each other. I
Hmm.
was like, Riley, did you just like reverse the tropes? Like each of the brothers is dating each other's best friend. Like
Yeah, and
I was like, I love that you did that.
it's funny because once I realized, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But actually that was only supposed to be a 3-book series. And and then I just fell in love with Griff too much. And then it just made sense to, kind of do it the same as the Mirror the First, like you said.
Oh, that's amazing. So like did you already have so when did you decide to go back and write Griff's story? Was that always when you're writing the third book, you're like, I needed to
After
write
no,
the
after the
story?
first, I knew. So I don't always work this way, but for this series, I had my cover images, I had my titles, I knew it before I even started the books. And so it doesn't, usually go that way. And so Griff was just going to be the brother. And then after I
Mhm.
wrote the first book, I knew like he has to have a story. And so then I had to go searching for my Griff and find, it all makes sense. It worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Josh needed love too.
Yeah, and I love just in general your books. I like how you kind of combine like the light with the heavy. There
Mhm.
always like is some type of like really kind of hard, like heavy issue that the characters are dealing with. I think in the first book, I believe the cop hero, his father has dementia and he's kind of like a homophobic type character that's really abusive to the character. I can't remember the character's name. I think it's Cooper.
Oh, in the
Um,
Black Creek. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. His uncle. Yeah, you're
yeah.
right. Hmm.
I just like
It,
love how you like balance those two. I'm like, is Riley gonna make me cry in this book? I'm like, I'm pretty sure like she's like trying to like get some tears because I was like, some of the backstories that these characters have to do. I was like, Riley, just let your characters have happy lives.
I know. It's so bad, especially whenever like right now the world is like such a crazy place and everyone's like, we need light books. And then I just come out with all this crazy stuff. But I like to do a little bit of everything. Sometimes I just really want to write the heavy emotional stuff, and that's the, beautiful and terrible things. And then sometimes I just want to do light and fun, which would be like stupid love. And then I think I do like the combination, in like Havenwood or Black Creek, like you said, because, that's life. We have good and
Yeah,
bad every day, and you just never know.
yeah, and I think that kind of leads me to like one of my other favorite books was Beautiful and Terrible Things. It's one of your more recent releases, and I don't want to spoil that book for anyone, but I was kind of shocked by the twists that happened in this book, and I was like, hold up, Riley, what are you doing? What are you doing to me right now? Like, this is insane. Like, I'm absolutely loving this so much. Um,
um, I loved writing that book. I really did. It was really kind of weird how it came about. I had finished, actually Finding Ian, I finished before that book. And so, cause that was finished in the fall, early fall. And, I just didn't know what I was going to write next. And I was talking to a friend, and just trying to toss different ideas and trying to figure out. And then I was watching something on TV and it was talking about like people's lives changing, and that's kind of, then I got the idea, which I don't want to give anything away either, just of these two boys, how like in the beginning they're one thing and then there's the event and that changes them, and when they're adults they're totally different men than they were, and how do they find their way back to each other, and they still love each other no matter what. And it's kind of just really how life is. We all grow and change, and whether it's some terrible event like that happened to them or not. And so it's really interesting to kind of work that to where they were, again, both two totally different people from the beginning to when they were, get back together.
Yeah, and like that's like one thing that just like with all, especially with your standalones, you take such interesting topics that I haven't seen done in MM, or like you'll do a certain trope, but then you'll do it in a way that feels very unique and very fresh. Like dealing
Oh.
with like I think in like His Truth, you have like one character who's been repressing his sexuality because of his what his family did to him, and
Mhm.
you actually see like his brother like go through therapy as well, and I was like, wow, I was like it's done so well that I was like, I'm absolutely eating this stuff up. Like you give me the heartache, but then you also give me like the beautiful love story that accompanies it as well.
Yeah.
Like I
I'm
just
a
absolutely love.
I'm a obviously I'm a, a romantic at heart and I have to have that. But I'm very much a people person. I pay attention to
Mhm.
people and um I actually at one point wanted to be a child psychologist. So there you go. It's kind of that
Oh,
that aspect. And so
uh-huh.
just, who we are and how our lives and events in our lives, change us or, just alter who we are as people or what the effects that they have. I find that really interesting.
Hmm.
So I think, I am mostly very much a character writer. I think you would
Hmm.
probably agree.
Hmm.
So that's really kind of where I go at it. Just, who we are, why do we do the things we do? And, how do
Hmm.
these things change us? And, or how do we not change? Because no matter what, I am this person. And sometimes you're able
Hmm.
to go through these situations and just stay firm in who you are.
Hmm.
I just find
Yeah, and
people
that's like
interesting.
yeah, that's like really interesting that you say that because one of the things that really resonates for me in your books is that yes, there's drama, but it's never like any it's not even like overblown. It feels realistic and it feels rooted in who the characters are and what they're
Mhm.
going through at that moment. Like dating the best friend's brother trope. Like I've read that so many times, and sometimes, like especially when they're adults, everything is handled like just like completely horribly. It's like you could have just said, "Hey, I'm dating XYZ,"
Let's have a conversation. Yeah. And all of this didn't
instead
need
of
to
having
happen.
this big brawl and all this stuff. And so like I'm just like when I read your books, I was like, okay, I think I may not like this trope, but I was like, I know Riley's gonna do something good with it, and it's gonna be like grounded. It's gonna be on the characters. The drama is gonna be there, but it's not gonna be
Mhm.
like this huge overblown like super alpha. And that's like one of the things too that I really love about your MM. There isn't always like your stereotypical alpha,
Mhm.
like kind of ascribing like MF kind of gender roles in the MM space because you tend to see that in some cases with a lot of MM, you have like the
Yeah.
really alpha dude, and you have the more feminine. You could say the more feminine if you want to call it
Mhm.
that other dude. And I like how even the like steamy scenes, like you play with that dynamic. They're both on equal footing. No one's like above the other. And I was like, I wonder, like, was that a conscious choice that you wanted to do?
Um, yeah, I mean, yes, I think it is, but it also comes natural, I think, to be in some ways too. But I very much try, as much as I'll say it comes naturally, I do very much try to break those stereotypes down and gosh, why does the more feminine, as you say, guy have
Hmm.
to play this role, or why do we need, I don't really like that being tied down to some, preconceived idea of what
Hmm.
a relationship or people have to be.
Hmm. And one question that I have, do you like when you set out to write a book, do you have to understand the characters first, or do you like kind of figure out what trope you want to tackle and then kind of figure out and work backwards from there? Or do you like write with tropes in mind?
Um, it really depends. I can't really say. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes there's, I really love the best friend's brother. I'm gonna try to think of a story for that.
Yeah.
But most of the time, because I am very character based, I know my people
Mhm.
first, and that's kind of.
Mhm.
I don't do a lot of like plotting on what's going to happen in the book most of the time from the start. I
Mhm.
have my character sketches, like who are these people and what have they been through and what makes them tick and what's their goal and their motivation and,
Mhm.
what's going to connect these two characters. Those are the type of
Mhm.
questions that I usually know from the beginning. And then sometimes I think my trope is answered in that, it comes
Mm-hmm.
out where, oh, this needs to be whatever it is. But sometimes I don't even really play or write to those specific tropes either. So I just, I get my characters down and then figure out a story that's right for them around that. And then I usually just kind of start writing from there. And then once I get a good feel for them and kind of feel comfortable in who they are, then I kind of start plotting more of the actual book out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like yeah, I was like always really curious because I think sometimes in romance it can be very trope heavy. Like people, like a lot of romance readers want a specific trope.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times when you're looking for books, so it's like I was wondering for a lot of writers, do they write? That's what I wanted. I was very curious to ask you. Like, do writers write to specific tropes, and do they like? Because I feel like when tropes like come in and out of fashion, so like I was really curious. Like, do you like consciously think like I want to write a football quarterback romance or something like that, and then you just kind of write to a specific trope?
I think so. I think it just depends. Like I said, probably on the writer in the book, but sometimes for me, yes, I am in that mood, and I really want to write like I said, I happen to like Best Friends Brothers. I keep bringing that in or whatever. But it varies. I think from different project, and but I think right now the market is very trope heavy, so I think that it's something that authors have to keep in the back of their mind, whether or not, even if they don't want to, in some ways,
Yeah.
so.
But I just like I love like whenever you like I don't even have to know like what the trope is. Like I usually just like see your covers. I'm like, okay, one click, audio, one click. And I had to ask, like, with finding Finley, that was a book I was like, hold up, is Riley really doing this book? I was like, I'm really curious to see like if no one has ever if you haven't heard of it, it is a Dom submissive like kind of daddy kink type book. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, I was like, this is like so what was the idea? Like how did the story come to you? Because I was like, it's so what I kind of associate very different from like what normal Hart books tend to
That,
be.
yes, and that's why I did that Desires Unleashed. I call it a collection, basically. I mean, because
Mm-hmm,
there are two other books in it from earlier, and those two books aren't connected to Finley in them. But I kind of wanted something to differentiate, so people who want kink can say, "Oh, these are Riley's kink books," and people who don't can say,
mm-hmm,
"Oh, I need to stay away from those books." But for me, I like to read a little bit of everything, and I write
mm-hmm.
so much that I would get bored. I would go crazy if I wrote, I think, the same
The same thing.
thing all of the
Mm-hmm,
time. And I'm really a big supporter of, regardless of market or anything else, of following my muse. And so um, sometimes I just get hit with these ideas, and I can't even tell
mm-hmm.
you how Finley happened. But I do remember when I got the idea, I talked to both Christina and Devin, and I was like, "Am I crazy? Like, should I be doing this?" They're like, just do it, And I
I feel
did, and
like
I
Devin would be
loved
like
the idea.
I feel like Devin would be like very much because he did like his whole best friend like dating his dad.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
I think Devin's gonna say like do it right.
Yeah, no, he definitely did, and I did, and I'm glad. I loved writing them. But yeah, I think and it's good because I think that then it gives readers. I don't
Mm-hmm,
expect ever. And I'm the first one to be like, if you don't like this, please don't read it. Like, I would rather someone not waste their money and not waste their
mm-hmm,
time if they don't think
mm-hmm,
they're gonna like it just because it has my name on it. But
mm-hmm.
I'm a very, very big supporter of having that diverse kind of backlist because, then you have the ability to reach more people.
Yeah, I completely agree because like all your stories, like I feel like with some authors, I'm like, okay, I kind of read one. Like you're gonna pretty much do like some do like the same wash and rinse trope. I'm like, okay, like I get it. Like I know exactly how this is gonna play out. You're gonna meet the other hero, and it's gonna be like a gay for you trope, and they're gonna have like the whole coming. Like I feel like a lot of MMs tend to follow that pattern. That's why I love your
Hmm.
book so much. Is
Oh,
that
thank you.
sometimes you get those elements, but then it's done in a way that's really realistic, and the characters actually have baggage, and like all the stories, like they're very clear in my mind because I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, these characters from this one's about this one, this one's about this, and none of the characters cross over. So I was wondering, too, like especially with some of the different subject matters that you tackle in all your books, do you do a lot of research before going into them?
It really depends, actually,
Hmm.
on what. Um, my one that's coming out in April, I did have to do a lot more than because I mean that was a senator and a football player, so that's like, you know,
Oh, I'm ready. Like I was like, Riley, why don't I have an arc for this book? I like you
oh, I
told I
could
saw
give
the
you
tagline. I was
one.
like,
Yeah, I could
I saw the
send you. I'll
tagline. I was like,
send it on.
I was like,
Yeah,
man, I
no,
need this book now.
I loved writing that book. I love writing that book. But really, it does depend. And I'm super,
Mhm,
I do what research I need to, and I'm super big on like, I mean, so many of book like you mentioned, His Truth or Beautiful and Terrible Things. Like I have
mhm,
psychologists read like all because what I
mhm,
do, I mean, I feel very just real life stuff, very
mhm,
knowledgeable on mental health stuff in a lot of ways, but it's something that's super important to me to get right. So I definitely make sure, I kind of try to, if it's something like that, I try to have a therapist or a psychologist read it.
mhm,
Or with Fired Up, one of the main character's brother, he has Down syndrome. And so I had a
mhm.
few people read it who had either worked with people or had loved ones, just because I want to
Mhm.
represent people as authentically as I can.
Yeah, I think you do an amazing job. Like I never read a book by you and I was like, Riley, you didn't do that right. Like that's not realistic. Like that's not how like someone with a character with that baggage, like I know anything. Like that's unrealistic. All the books I was just like I'm just sitting here, I'm like, oh man, these are like you give us like the perfect amount of steam, even though you do make us wait a little bit before we like
I
get
do.
into the steam.
Yes,
I was like,
yeah.
Riley, I'm ready for you to like do like a chapter two steamy scene, just like out of nowhere, just like we're changing things up. But I just love that how you can tell as a reader that you're really putting care and energy in how you're depicting these characters because I think for a lot of people in MM, like who read a lot of MM, I think a lot of times it can be I would not say like fetishized, but like a lot of times
Mhm,
it's kind of viewed as like the offshoot category a lot of times. Like you don't most people talk about MF romances and all those and it was like
mhm,
tons and tons and tons of those. But then like when you dig into the MM like and you read your books, you're like, wow, like you're getting stories that are just not just about the character's sexuality, but like they're fully
mhm,
fleshed out stories. They have friends, they have family issues, they have real issues that they deal with. And one thing I think it was in Awkward Love, I
mhm,
believe the interracial couple with Jameson and Will, I believe are
mhm.
the two main heroes.
Yeah.
The things that happen with his family, with Will's family, if I'm not going to spoil it for any of you guys who haven't read it, but I was like really shocked by some of the twists and turns that took, and I was like,
Uh,
I was like, hats off to you, Riley. I was like, I don't know how you did this, but I was like, even I was like, I wanted to go through the book and like slap all his family. I was like, how dare all of you? And then like
no.
things would happen with his brother. I was like, oh man, like I can easily see that happening in a lot of people's families because
Mhm.
even though love is love, there's still some discrimination out there. So I get it. So I like that you have those stories, but you also show them. You have to show like more facets to those stories instead of just
And
like,
I,
hey, I came out.
yeah, and I think that that's something, when you say, of course, love is love and everybody should be 100%, um,
Mhm,
uh, accepting whatever. But when you look at it like too, I think, you know, we're people, and so when you look at
mhm,
Will's family, he came out and they know and they love him and they accept him to a degree, but then
mhm,
they're human too, right? So they have
mhm,
they don't always do the right thing or say the right
mhm,
thing or 100%, what they're supposed to be or how you should love someone because we're people, we're all flawed. And so I kind of like playing
mhm.
with that too. I don't really love um, writing perfect characters because there are no perfect people, So I kind of
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
throw in that, have someone be a good person, but have that person screw up or have, family members screw up because that's real. That's real life.
Mhm. Yeah, and like, yeah, I can't stop gushing about how much I love your books, especially
No.
um yeah, I just really love how you just handle all these issues so incredibly well. Like I just like anytime I read your books, I'm like, Riley's probably gonna destroy me. Like Beautiful and Terrible Things destroyed me with that twist. I was like,
Yeah,
I was like,
I know.
and then you switched it up. I was like, this is like nowhere telegraphed. I was thinking when I first opened the book, I was like, wait, they're in high school? I was like, is this like a high school romance? And then I kept on reading. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, okay. We took that turn. I was like, I liked
Yeah.
it. I was like, is Riley going like the like how to get away with murder route, like where bodies are gonna start dropping in her book? I was
That's
wondering
coming up in a
how.
future book now.
I think that's
Oh,
a really yeah. I
God.
think another question I have for you is like, are there any different like subgenres within MM that you would like to kind of dabble into? Would you like to do historical, paranormal?
I really I really love mystery. Like, you know,
Mhm.
I would love to do a multi-book series like with the same couple and their, you know, FBI agents or whatever. I
Do
haven't
it.
braved it yet. I really want to, but I want to make sure. I'm super nervous. Like I want to make sure that I can do it justice. You know, I like have books up there on like law stuff and try to figure out. So that part, you know, I really want to write it, but I'm a little nervous. But I'll get there. I actually have an idea. Character names, part of the backstory and all of that of a fantasy, I guess. I mean, it's I don't even 100% know. It wouldn't be like dragons and that type of
Mhm.
fantasy, but
Mhm.
alternate universe, you know, type of I don't even know.
Oh, do
Like
it.
yeah, see, I do I really want to write that too. So at some point, and I love vampires. Like I love vampire. Why don't we have more vampires in MM? I don't understand that.
There's like tropes that I look for. I was like, Riley isn't writing these, so like I have to like go
Yeah,
power through. I was like, why can't I find a ton of MM paranormal,
I
like
don't
mystery
know.
suspense? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
contemporary, like you guys, like you, Riley, you, Devin, and Max, and Christina. You and Christina, whenever you and Christina co-write a book, I'm like, it's gonna make me cry. So I kind of
Aw.
like with the boys and makeup series. I was like, we're gonna wait to get to that one because I read I think it's Internal Happiness. I can't remember the title of it, but it's like about like they couple the main couple like reads about a couple like that used to live in the same area or something. I'm not
Oh,
describing
of
it well,
sunlight
and then
of
they have like that
yes,
tragic
oh
past.
yes, of sunlight and stardust. Yes.
And I was like, I was so expecting it to be like
Yeah.
just like smutty and
No,
fun.
that.
I was like,
No,
this is
well,
so
you
sad.
don't worry about that with boys in makeup. It is nothing like of sunlight and stardust. And
Okay.
that, no, yeah, no, that's more fun. Yeah, boys in makeup, it's fun, and you know, it's you know me, so there's a little bit of emotion thrown in, but it's not a sunlight and stardust.
Ooh,
That
because
will
like you guys are
forever, I think, be like just a perfect kind of magical experience of a book for us, you know.
yeah, I love that book. I forgot to even mention that book. Like I love that one so much.
Oh,
I think
thank
I picked it
you.
up on a whim. I was like, let's try this. I was like, this is so sad.
You
I was
know,
like,
the funny thing is like we had that idea about a year before we started actually writing it, and I had wrote the first journal entry, and I sent it to her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!" And we were like, "Okay, are we gonna do this?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're not ready to do this." So like we put it aside for like a year before we
oh
actually
really?
said, "Yeah,
Oh
yep."
wow. That's
And
me.
then
I'm
when we
like,
are ready, we just did it.
wow. So like, do you so you co-write a lot, especially you have a lot of books with Devin. I feel like you and Devin are like in cahoots. Like I'm always looking like when you guys are gonna drop your next collab, and then you have a collab with Christina Lee. So like, how do those processes usually come about? Do you just like message any of them and say, "Hey, I have this idea. Like, what do you think?"
For me, I think co-writing is really intimate kind of relationship. I couldn't just randomly co-write with anybody. I think first of all, you're letting them see your raw work, and you have to, be somebody that you think you can work well with and that you trust and all of those things. And so both of them, we had formed relationships and friendships before, and it just kind of came about naturally. With Christina and I, the first one that we co-authored was actually a Naire Dawn book. And it was Touch the Sky, and that we decided we wanted to write something together and we weren't sure. And that has one of the characters in that has bipolar. And so, and we have some, personal experience with mental health and stuff like that. And so we knew we wanted to take that on, and we just didn't know how. And then kind of Gabriel and Lucas's story came from there. And so that was our first. And then with Devin, the funny part is at least people knew that Christina and I were friends. And so it wasn't like a surprise. Nobody really even knew that Devin and I were friends, because we had started talking. He wasn't online as much back then, before we started writing together. And he had messaged me as Naire when I sold a YA to his publisher, and he just said, "Hey, welcome aboard," and blah blah blah. And we would PM back and forth, and we just kind of really hit it off, and just clicked, and then when we decided to write a book together, we were like, we're not going to tell anybody, because we're like, okay, friendship first. What if we start to write together and realize like, oh my God, I can't do this with this person. They're driving me crazy or whatever, yeah. And so we didn't tell anybody until we were done, and it was in editing, and everybody, actually, we didn't even tell anybody then besides our editors. We didn't tell anybody until we released it. I remember now. And people were like, wait, what? What just happened here?
What?
Yeah. No, it was a total surprise release, and nobody knew about the book, about the friendship, about the co-writing, nothing. Yeah. And that was Weight of the World was our first that we did together.
Oh wow, that's so cool. I didn't even know that. I just like assumed because I think I kind of came into your work when the Fever Falls series with Fire Up when that came out, and I started to like branch out into like your and Devin's. I was like, wait, they were co-write together, and then I think maybe it was like a year ago, you guys had like an Instagram live together, and you were just talking about books. I was like, oh, so like I already know that like they're really good friends. Devin's so secretive about his new releases, though. I never know when he comes out, and I just received an email. I'm like, oh, he has a new book out?
Yeah, he's secretive. And that was probably part of why that first one, because I'm like big mouth. Like I can't keep anything a secret, I feel like. And it's even funny, like I have a Facebook group, and like anytime I do a like ask me anything, I'm like, I feel like nobody has any questions because I tell everybody beforehand, because I can't like keep it to myself. And he is like Mr. Secretive about everything, and it would kill me. I'd be like, why can't we tell anybody? He's like, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready.
I was shocked when No Good Mitchell came out. I was like, I didn't know they were co-writing again. I was like, why? How did I not know this? Like, if Amazon alert me, I'll be like, Riley, you guys haven't co-written anything in a while. And I'm like, oh wait, they just co-wrote something right now.
Yes, he likes his secrets.
Oh my goodness. So I also want to ask you a little bit more about your quarterback and senator romance. That's coming up. It's coming out April 20th, which is when this video will be released. So everyone, if you want to go pick it up, I'll leave the links down below in the description box, so you can go click and order it. But how did this story kind of come about to you? Like when I heard the tagline, I was like how do you know like that's something I want, but I never knew.
No, I didn't even know I wanted it. So like, it was weird because I was between projects, and I've been writing so much. I think especially during the pandemic, because that's all there is, to do. And it's my form of escapism too. I get to pretend we're not in the middle of a pandemic when I'm in a book, And so I was between projects, and I was just kind of feeling I wanted something different and something. But I just didn't know what it was. And I was talking with Kate Hawthorne. I don't know if you've read her.
No, I haven't.
And we were, if you like kink, she writes really good kink. And so we were talking in PM, and she was just like, and I don't even know why this hit different. It was so weird. She just goes, write what would make you happy to write, or something like that. I always try to write what would make me happy to write, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, what do I want to write? What makes me happy? And I really wanted to write something where um, there were high stakes. You know, it's not and more extra. I mean, there's some internal conflict, of course, too, but external, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
how are we actually physically going to make this work, not just,
Work.
you know, I just have to get
Mm-hmm.
over my past, you know, and I type of
Yeah.
thing. I really kind of wanted that challenge of something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, more external. And you know, I like politics. I'm a political junkie, and but it's not a super political book, so nobody think that. um but you know, and John Ossoff is cute, and I'm like, huh, what about a senator? You know, like, but I was just like, what about, okay, a senator and a football player? Because he's okay. We have two guys who have busy careers. They have to
Mm-hmm.
travel a lot for their work. They live in different, you know, West is in
Mm-hmm.
California and Anson is in Georgia. And so I have these two guys who have all of those stakes. Again, they have to figure out these busy careers and the distance between them and how, you know, how
Mm-hmm.
they're going to make it work. So it just was the perfect book that I could have chosen to write at the perfect time for me. I loved probably writing that book more than I have anything in a really long time. I fell
Oh
I mean that
wow.
and Beautiful and Terrible Things, those two are
I was
kind
gonna
of
say
the
like
ones for me. Yeah, those two are the ones for me lately, but I don't know, I had so much fun with them. I can't wait, and I hope everybody likes them.
I can't wait to read it. Like I'm eagerly waiting for it to hit my Kindle. Like like when you just told me the tagline, I was like how did you know how did you know like that like will be like one of my automatic like you don't have to even tell me to say Senator Quarterback
It's so
click one click.
that's how I was when I thought of it. Like, how did I even? As soon as I thought of that, I was like, I have to write this. You know, I don't know. It just felt perfect. You know.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I'm like super excited. Like I can't even describe like how excited I am for that book because I know it's gonna be good. I just can't I can't wait. I can't wait
Ooh,
to
I
get
hope
to it.
so.
But
I hope you enjoy it.
I probably will. I probably will read it. Like you probably like it'll be released and I'll be
I'm gonna send it to
DMing you on
you.
Instagram and I'll be like, I already read it. You're like, technically, I was like, I loved it. Five stars.
And that one is actually one too. Iggy Toma is narrating it, and he actually has yes, and I set it up ahead. He's actually already finished recording it, and when we're doing this, and we're just waiting on editing and stuff like that. So the goal is super close to release date for the audio on that one. So hopefully, right around the 20th, we'll have the audio too.
And can I just say your audiobooks are fantastic. I love
Oh, thank
even
you.
though I love my Michael Dean, like
Mhm.
he pretty much
I love
narrates
him. Yeah, I
like
love him.
probably 80% of all the audiobooks. Like I know his voice so
Hmm.
incredibly. I know exactly what he's gonna do. And like you had a couple of new narrators for Beautiful and Terrible
Hmm.
Things, the Cam Havenwood series,
Hmm.
and I, I think there was another one, but I can't remember. Those are the two that stand out to me the most. I was like, I love these narrators.
Yeah, those are the ones that I've used new besides Iggy Toma on this one. Um, and I think just to try something different, really, you know, like you said, I love, love, love Michael's voice too. But I was just like, oh, let's branch out and try something different and, you know, all of that with those. And so I had listened to a book that Michael Fell narrated. I don't remember the title, but it's by Casey Cameron. And I fell in love with his voice. I was just like, oh, I really love his voice.
He's the one.
Yeah. And so I messaged him, super, super duper nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I love Cale Williams. Cale Williams he's the one that did the
Mm-hmm.
Havenwood series, and I love his
So
voice.
good.
Yeah. Super nice guy too, great to work with. So it's really fun to, um, kind of try out some new narrators and do some different stuff.
Yeah, I just really appreciate that because like they're actually really, really good. I was like kind of nervous. I was like, you're not one of my, I don't know you. Like, well, what have you else have you narrated? Because I know Michael Dean, Michael Ferriulio.
Yeah, I don't know how to
I
say
always
his name,
butcher.
but I
I
know who
always
you're talking
butcher his
about.
last name. I always butcher
Yeah,
like don't
I don't
make me
even
say
try,
it.
but yeah.
Like I
Yes,
know those areas. So and Iggy Toma
and
is
he's got
another
a great voice
nice
too.
name.
Yeah,
And then Teddy Hamilton,
yeah,
but like he kind of like he does a whole bunch of stuff. But I know his
yeah.
voice for M. I'm like, if you put Teddy on audiobook, I'm like, that's automatic. Like I don't even have to listen to a sample.
No,
Like I'll
I
buy it
know.
and
I
read it.
would love to have him do one time because I do. I
You
love his
should
voice
do
too.
it. You should do one. Like, please make that happen, right?
I'll try. I'll try.
And I wonder, you mentioned earlier that you started to get more and more into audiobooks. Do you think, I don't even know how to phrase this question. What do you think about the audiobook market? Has it grown a lot more, or has it been a little bit behind like the MF audiobook
Um,
category, if that makes any
both.
sense?
Both, yeah.
Hmm.
I think it's grown a lot. I think that um, more authors are trying to make that happen and to give readers, multiple ways to read and listen. I think it's, of course, it's behind MF in its growth rate
Hmm.
too, but I think it's harder because we are a smaller genre, I mean,
Hmm.
than MF is. And I don't, our readership isn't quite as big. And, you know, audiobooks are not cheap either. So all of that
Yeah.
kind of, I think, makes it that we're a little bit behind and not having quite as many. But I think that for me, I've noticed a lot more even than, probably a year ago or a year and a half ago when I started listening.
Hmm.
So we're getting there.
Do you think more readers have like found you more through audiobooks versus going through the books through KU? Or has it been like,
um,
have you seen like any difference?
I, oh my goodness, Coda. My lab puppy. I was like,
Oh.
I really want a farmhouse door. I didn't think about the fact that my dog could open the door because he just has to slide it. And so he's always opening the door and sticking his head in. Um, oh, I still think KU, I mean, that's where most of the readers
Hmm.
are, and where I think most people find me. But I can
Hmm.
see a growth in my audio compared to when I first started doing audio. So I just think it'll continue to grow.
Yeah, I think like on my Audible library, I have so many audiobooks by
Mm,
you. I was like, I think Riley Hart's like, I think she's like rivaling some of like my traditional like MF authors. Like I'm personally like one of those people like I think I get recommended more MF books, and then after
mm.
a while I'm like, okay, I can't. Like I need to go read some MM, some FF. Like if you give me a menage, oh, that's a question. Would you think about writing a menage? I think you did. You
Well,
did.
no, I did. I've written two. Yes. Well,
That was
Ian, finding Ian is, and
uh
then I mean MMM if that's what you're talking. And then in my very early, my second book that I released as Riley was
that's
Broken
an
Pieces,
MM.
and that's an MMM book. Which is kind of set up differently. You would read that similar to, and probably like Beautiful and Terrible Things, where it starts when they're young, and that's it's one book, but it's broken up like into three parts within that book. So you kind of get
Oh,
like the first two people, and then you know two of the a new guy comes, but only with one of them, and then the third part's kind of all three of them together. So it's kind of different.
but
But
to add
and
a
I would
little
also
more.
like. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you can go.
Oh,
Sorry.
I said I do. I would like to write FF2 at some point. I just haven't gotten around to
I need this to happen.
it.
Like just like I just need more MM, more FF titles that like
No,
sometimes
no.
I just want specific tropes that
Yeah.
like, I have to dig so far. Like I just want like
Hmm.
a really dark bully MM romance where it's like similar to like your LJ Shen, but I want it MM or like FF.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
some like I they're definitely there, but I definitely have to do like my deep dive and go like, okay, let me
Hmm.
see like some like one new author that kind of came on my radar was BJ Blakely or Blackley. I don't know if you ever read
I've
him.
seen. I haven't read, but I have them on my Facebook and Instagram, so I've definitely seen them around, but I just haven't got to read them yet.
I was like when I was told about the premise of the first book, I was like, a glory hole romance. I was like, wait, at a truck stop? I was like,
See?
hold
And
up.
I like that. I like that's something new, you know. I'm trying to get him to go to the store. I like that, you know, because it is something a little fresh. We don't have I haven't read another one I can tell you that started with a glory hole at a gas station.
Like, even though there was no audio, I was like, I need to read this. I just need to see like if this is gonna be like really good or is it just gonna go downhill. But I was like, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, Riley and Declan, you know, you guys need to co-write something with this author because like the king. I was just like, I was like, how did Amazon allow you to publish this? I'm like,
Oh, oh,
this
I
is
might have to
steamy.
check this
I
out.
was like reading. I was like, okay. I was like, that's little like I was not expecting that level of steam.
Really? I'll check it out.
Yeah. I think that's the question I have for you. Like, what are some of your favorite? You can do romance authors or romance books that you have like been loving, or it can be all time favorites.
Um, I kind of read all over the place. And I really love Nev Wilder's voice. I think that, and she's a newer author,
Mhm.
but dedicated. And I love these books too. Everyone will say her extracurricular, like Want Me and those, which are fantastic. I love those. But and if you want steamy, that's definitely the route to go. Dedicated, I love her character less in that, and her writing is beautiful. And if you like that flawed sort of character, you'll fall in love with Les too. And so I love that. Older one, Shades of Grey by Brooke McKinley. I don't, that's an older book, but it's a police officer and a criminal, which is
Oh,
yeah, I really, really, really love that book too. And so I don't even know actually if that one's still available. So, I'm a big, like, if you ask me my favorite book of all time, it's going to be always Two Boys Kissing by David um,
oh, David Levithan.
Levithan. That's why
Levithan.
I don't know. That's why I didn't want to,
Is
I
it
wasn't
Levithan or
exactly
Levithan?
sure, yes, exactly how to say it. But he's kind of like my words hero, like that. I
Mhm.
think that book is like life changing. So
Yeah.
that one, and also Like a Love Story by Abdi Nassimian, I believe, and I actually
Oh,
have a tattoo for that book. It
oh,
was
really?
it was beautiful. And so those are some of my favorites. I mean, lately I've been in kind of a kind of fun
Mhm.
type of mood, and so lately I've been reading, or actually I already read them, and I'm listening to the CU hockey series, I think, by Eden Finley and Saxon James.
Oh yeah, Eden,
Yes, I've
that
been
hockey
listening.
series.
Yes,
I seen
that.
that. I seen that, but I haven't
Yeah.
started them yet.
Yeah, so that's what I'm listening to right now. But yeah, I do. I love Nev's books. I love David's books. So those are some of my faves.
Oh, those are some really good ones. When you said Nev, I think I read her Want Me. I think the first book in that series
Yeah.
was available, and I was like, whew.
And
I was
see,
like,
and
this.
that's what, okay, earlier you said something like, shake it off, Riley. I want some, sex in this, or I would say around here, steamy stuff in the
It's okay.
second. I'm like, is YouTube going to get mad at us in the second chapter? My husband just goes, he texted me, so he must have heard me say that. So he's just teasing me. And so I was thinking about, I was talking with Nev actually, because this is kind of how she did Want Me, and she started it as it was a serial in her newsletter, like, and then she
Oh,
had, the end she hadn't finished, and then she added that when she did the book. And I've been thinking about doing some, just for something different, and something when I'm in between stuff, or have like something where I can just have a lot of fun and do whatever, and just make it super steamy, and just, fun
yeah.
encounters like that, like through my newsletter. So that might be coming soon.
Ooh. I may be sending you to like a list of tropes. I was like, Riley, if you ever have the
See?
muse and you find these, like, please write these because
Do
I'm
it.
like
You
desperately
never know
looking
where
for
they'll
these.
spark an idea too. It might be something I never thought of, and then I'm like, oh, I have to do this.
Like for some reason, I want like superhero MM type romance, like TJ
We
Klune.
even have. Oh yeah.
But that was YA, so I want like
Oh yeah. See, I think there's one by Eli Easton, but I haven't read it. And but we
oh
don't have any. I can't think of anything else. So
no.
that is some. That's good. That's a good idea.
There's like some specific because like I feel like I read enough where I'm like I
Hmm.
want I identify stuff that I want in MM that like I can find like a bajillion books in MF, but I'm like, why does this book exist? Like in the MM space. Like sometimes I want like a dark romance, like Mafia MM, or I think those
Oh
I started to see
yeah.
more of those pop up a little bit
Hmm.
now more than ever. So I'm like I'm starting to see and like I think it's really cool that a lot of traditional MF authors are kind of coming
Hmm.
into the MM space. So I was like, finally, like we've been telling you over here, like there's a readership
What
over
took you
here.
guys so long? No.
Like
But
I'm
yeah,
so
no,
mad
it
it
is
took me so
cool.
long
Yeah.
to read Max Walker. I was
No,
like,
I love
man, I've been
Max
missing
too.
out.
Yeah. I like the Stonewall books too.
And the steam in those books, I was like, Max, I was not expecting this. Like, I need a little bit of a warning.
he's
Like,
so,
even with your
he's so
books, I'm like,
funny, I
I need a little
know.
bit of warning. Like, I need a disclaimer from you, Riley, if it's gonna make me cry or it's gonna get me in my feels. Because sometimes I'm like, with some of the things that these characters have to go through, I'm like, let me in the book. I will set all these characters straight. I was like, you need to go over here. You need to like push that person out of your life. I was like, okay, now your
Mhm.
romance. But yeah, like those are some really good recommendations. I think a lot of people will really like them. And I think a really good note is if you have been watching any TV or movies, what have been some of your favorites so far during quarantine? If you have watched anything.
um, I'm not a huge. I kind of have to be in the mood, but I've been
Mhm.
watching a lot with my daughter lately, and we watched The Prodigal Son. Like that's super good.
Ooh,
We have you
okay.
watched that? It's
I heard
good.
of it. I
It's
haven't watched it
yes.
yet.
No. I was like, where has that been all my life? We watched that and we watched Mr. Mercedes. We really like that too, which is a Stephen
Ooh,
King. But we
okay.
can't the third season isn't out for some reason. So watch the first two on that one.
Mhm.
I have it doesn't have the greatest reviews, but my husband and I devoured Tell Me All Your Secrets, and it's on Amazon
Mhm.
Prime, and we watched it in like 2 nights, and it was just because I think
Oh
it felt
wow.
super different, and it's only one
Mhm.
season, but it just felt different for us, and so we really liked that. Um, and then towards the beginning of quarantine, I think I had actually never watched the originals. I had never watched Vampire Diaries for some reason. And then I had decided, like, I wasn't in the mood for teen stuff. So we just went straight to the originals and I fell in love. Like, we devoured every season. It was so good. So, yeah, that would be
Riley,
what
I
I'd
think I
say.
cannot like read your books anymore because you
I
have
know.
not read TV. You have not watched TVD. Like that was like the love triangle. Like I want that in like
Um,
MM form. Like just get like that series. Oh, like people give it flack, but I was like, this is like way superior than Twilight. Like the whole originals
yeah,
world, all the
yeah.
spin-offs. Because like they
Mhm.
actually kill characters like
No, I
flat out.
know.
I was like
Yeah,
some of the character deaths, I was like,
exactly.
I'm crying. Like, why this character?
I was the same way. I did. I really like the originals. Like I said, I haven't done the Vampire Diaries thing yet. I don't know why. I need to, but I really love
You
the
have to.
originals.
It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. Like somehow, like all their villains are like I ship them with like
You
my
know
characters.
the
I don't
funny
know
thing,
why.
I don't know if you've read my book in the Stretch of Blue, but I have characters. The main characters are Damon and Enzo, and apparently those are
Mhm.
people. And I had
Yep.
no idea there was like Vampire Diaries. I'm like, wait, what? So, yeah,
I
I
caught
didn't
that. I was
know.
like,
Did
I was
you?
like, these are like is she ready? Like, is this like a take on
Yeah,
fanfic a
yeah,
little bit?
yeah. I had no idea.
Well, so now you have to go back and watch
Yeah,
TVD. It's a long. I think it's 8 seasons. I think
yeah.
that's how long it ran. But oh my,
Mhm.
it's so good. It's so good. Like the originals, like it's one thing, but TVD is like where it's at. There's like
Really?
Bonnie, a great
Uh-huh.
like black witch who has like so many like oh
Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch it. Oh, and of
it's
course Bridgerton. I watched that this year,
mhm.
and I have to mention that. So
I hopefully after Bridgerton, like since Bridgerton's so big, I hope they like slip in some like MM. I was hoping like they do
I
like to make it more modern. Like
know.
maybe I was thinking they may make
I thought the
Benedict.
brother I because I have never read the books, and so when they were, I was like, oh, so
I was
that's where
like
I was thinking that they were gonna go with it, and I was like,
I was like, and then
oh.
they did. I
So
was like,
no, they should. I hope so. I
I
agree.
was like,
I
Shauna,
mean,
do
they
not
have
make
the
me revolt.
side, yeah. Wow. So hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But I had two more questions for you that just popped into my head. Would you consider your books taking place in the same like universe, almost like a connected, like Marvel-esque type universe where like you can pinpoint the characters somehow in the same? Is that a thing? I was like always wondering, like, could they some of the books be connected that are like series of standalones? I was just
Oh,
really curious.
mm, I don't. I mean, I don't think so. There's some loose connections within some, like let's see, bringing this one up because but there's a side character in the Wild Side series, and I hate because I haven't written a third book, and it's been a couple years. That's why I hate to bring that up. But then he ends up with kind of connecting to the Crossroads series in Jumpstart, and so there I kind of
Oh.
took two people from
Mhm,
that, and so I've done little things like that here and there, or I've done like
mhm.
cameos, but I wouldn't say that most are, kind of connected in a series type world that way.
Okay. I was curious, and like
It's interesting though, yeah.
that like brings me to a point. Like, you have a book called I think it's Rock Solid is the name of the series, and there's only one book available.
I
And I saw
know.
that, and I was
That's
like, I
right,
read it,
other
I loved
yeah.
it, and I was like, is there gonna be
Okay,
like, is there gonna be another book?
this is this is the hard part with that one. Originally there were going to be two books. But I did write that a long time ago. And it was really weird because I mean, the first one, okay, you have the brother who, Trevor, who, you know, has been in rehab and he's a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And so, and his twin brother, who he's very close with, who is Blake, who in that book, he loves him and he very much supports him. But he holds back and he he's I think because once you've been hurt so many times by someone who and for me, which is this is a little bit of a personal thing, that I grew up with an alcoholic mother. Okay, so for me, I think it was very much that oh, I'm not going to do it this time, and then you get your hope, you think, oh, they're not going to do it, and then they fall back on that. So kind of when you and then once she really did stop drinking, I was very much still like always looking for signs. Are you sure you didn't do this? Because you're protecting yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to that series, when it came to the next book to write the brothers, because I know that some people were kind of upset with him in that first book, like, why didn't you support him more? And he really did. He loved him. He was just trying to protect himself. That it was almost like I had this block, like this, like I couldn't. So I'm just so afraid of not being able to kind of do his story justice, because it is something that's kind of personal to me. And then, so I was like, oh, I'll put it aside for a little while and then, write something else and then something else. And then the longer has gone by, kind of the
It just gets.
farther it makes it harder. So I don't know. I would love to, because that's the even more than Wild Side. That's the one. Those are the only two that I have done that with. That's the one that people ask about, and I hate that he doesn't have a story, but I can't make promises.
Okay. I just like
Hopefully
that
one day.
that popped into my head. I was like, wait, I was like, I
No,
remember
I
this one book, and
know.
I was like, hold, and you had Joe Arden narrate the audiobook. I was like, this is criminal. Where is the second book?
I
I was
know.
like, was it taken off Amazon or something? And I just didn't know.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Nope, I didn't do it.
And then the final question that I have for you is, if you could choose one of the books or series that you have that you have written to be developed for like TV or movie, which one would you choose and why?
I think um I'm gonna do it two ways. If I do collabs, I would probably say a TV show for the Metropolis series that I wrote with Devin, because I think
Oh,
that that would be just fun and around a whole apartment, condo unit and all of. I think that would be super fun and that would work well. I think for TV. Um, if I was talking just my books or actually, I'm even going to possibly have a collab with this one. Ones that I would love to see a movie would be Of Sunlight and Stardust that I wrote with Christina, or Beautiful and Terrible Things, I think, because which is funny that for TV I go like really light and funny, and then for
and then like
movies
your
I
movies,
go
you go
like
with
the
all your
heaviest
darker,
ones.
heavier stuff.
Yeah. But I think that those would be really emotional, movies. So yeah, I think those would be the ones I'd choose.
Oh, those are good choices. I was going to think you may have chosen It's Always, no, what's the title? It's Always Love? Love Always? I can't remember. It's the romance
Oh,
between
Love
the
Always. Yeah,
Love Always. I thought that's
yeah.
my personal, I didn't even mention that. That's my
No,
personal favorite
see,
standalone.
that's a good choice too. And see, there's so many because that would actually, and I'm surprised I didn't think about that because I really, really loved writing Nate and Ren's. And I really wanted to
So
write a
good.
story like that one. I went into it knowing I want to write something that spans 20 years. Like I
Hmm.
wanted it to be this big, long, sweeping, epic romance. So that would actually be a really good movie too.
I can't believe I was like I wrote down a list of like all my favorite books, but yet I didn't mention that one because I was like I think that's hands down my favorite standalone. Like
Oh, thank
that's my
you.
book. His Truth is like
Yeah,
kind of close to it, but like that book is like my favorite. Like nothing,
no,
no of the
yeah.
standalones. Like that's my number one right now.
I,
If I recommend, like
I
read
love
this one.
hearing that though. I love hearing that because I think it wasn't one that kind of did quite as well as much as I wanted the 20 years. I understand like not everybody was digging that. So
Mhm.
or the long time. So it makes me happy that you liked it so much.
Yeah, that's I think why I like beautiful and terrible things. But then that
Hmm.
twist, I was like, I wish I could say the spoiler because I had
No,
questions
I
about it, but
know.
I don't want to ruin it for people because like it catches you off guard and you're just like, oh, okay, okay, like I like this. It took a different twist, but I was like, I like
Yeah,
this.
that's what I was hoping for, that reaction. So
Yeah. But I will wrap us up. But thank you so much, Riley, for coming on my channel. Like I have had a blast talking with you, talking about all your books, which I still have more books to read in your backlist, which is good for me because then I won't run out of Riley Hart any of your books. So I'm like, I won't have to message you. I'm like, okay, when's the next book dropping? I'm caught up. I'm like, when's the next book dropping? Are you gonna do like, are you gonna give me superheroes? Are you gonna give me vampires? What about that mystery series that you talked about? I was like, I will beta read. Like, just send it to me so I can read something from you.
thank you. And I really
And
appreciate being here. I had a good time.
yeah, that's great. That's great. And so your newest release will be out today. I'll leave all those orders so you can one click it on Amazon. Will it be on KU as well?
Yeah.
So you can get it on KU or you can buy it. I'm probably just gonna buy it because I can't wait. Like I can't wait. Like I already know I'm gonna like it, so I'm like I don't need to do the whole KU thing. But yes, you guys definitely go support Riley Hart's books. Like she's an absolutely amazing author. You will love them if you're looking for MM with some heart and some steam. Trust me, you guys. Like Riley Hart is your girl. She will deliver in every single book that you choose from her. Like there's so many different stories that you can choose from. Like if you want your small town, you can do the Camp Havenwood. If you want something like hard hitting, she has like a lot of amazing standalones and just it's like and everything's available in audio. It's like you can read however you want. It's like that is absolutely amazing. But thank you again, Riley, so much for joining me on my channel. You are always welcome back.
Thank
If you can
you.
convince Devin and Max to come on, like I would love having them on too, and just like talk about all MM with all of you. That would
I'll
be
tell
so
them
much
for sure. And
fun.
I think that you would just have to ask Max and he would jump for the opportunity. And not that Devin wouldn't, he's just not online as much. He's kind of
Yeah, it's
not
like
been
Devin's
around.
like I think his last release was Teacher, and it
Mhm.
just came out of the blue, and I was like, what is happening? Like I didn't even know we were getting something new from you this year. I was like, I'm trying to stalk all your
Yeah.
social medias to see if I can find clues.
Yeah. No, he's around and he's doing his thing and writing up a storm.
Okay. Well, I'm super excited. Whatever you guys decide to co-write, if you co-write anything, just like slip me a little info so I can be in the know. So it can be like, I know what they're writing, but I won't tell anyone else. But thank you again, Riley, so much for coming on my channel. Like I said, all those links will be down below in the description box, as well as links so you can follow Riley on all her different social medias. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I'll catch you guys with another video. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.